hip controlled articular rotation. So we're going to be taking our hip through its full range of motion. Use this as an amazing warm-up for an exercise routine, or use it to make sure that your hips stay pain-free and you age gracefully. So this is not a balancing exercise. So find something that you can lean on. I've got a stick here, a dowel, but I mean, if you've got a chair or a wall, that would be even better. This still requires a bit of balance. This isn't a balancing exercise. We want to make sure we get this through as much range of motion as possible. So what I'm going to do first, I want to externally rotate my leg. That's the first motion. But I can't do that if my leg stays down, because it'll hit the other leg. So I'm just going to drag it forward a little bit. Now I can externally rotate as much as possible. I'm going to keep that external rotation as I drag across adducts. I'm going to use those adductors. Now I'm going to come up to as much flexion as I can. I'm going to try and hold this external rotation as long as I possibly can, but to get to full flexion, I will lose it. So now I'm up to full flexion. I'm going to go to adduction. So I'm going to open up my hips as much as I can, making sure this stays still. I'm not moving my whole body. I'm just moving my leg in my hip. So I'm going to come out. Now when I can't do this anymore, I'm going to internally rotate my leg. I'm going to go through to extension at the back while trying to keep my knees as far apart from each other as I can. So as I internally rotate my leg, I'm trying to keep my knees as far apart as I can. As I go back around through to extension, I'm just going to move forward a little bit because I just kicked that fence. Come back around through to extension. The knees meet. Now I'm going to reverse direction. So I'm going to kick back to extension and then come up. So I'm fighting for internal rotation as I come here. I'm now out to abduction, come around to flexion, externally rotate and back down. So you're going to do 2 of those on each hip. Look, it'll take you a minute a day. Your hips will thank you. You'll feel better. Your lower back will thank you. Do this exercise. Now, a couple of common mistakes is this is pretty simple, that rotation, you don't really cheat too much here, but when people get up to flexion, what they'll do is they'll flex here. Keep everything nice and still, only flex up as high as you can. If you can get there, it doesn't matter. When you go out to abduction, it's just as far as your leg can go. Don't let the whole hips go. And then the really tricky one is when you internally rotate, don't do this. Keep your body up right as much as you can. Balance will help. Come back around here through to extension. And then one more when you extend. So when you kick back, when you come back through to extension, you'll either lean forward at the hip or you'll arch the spine, or you'll do both and you'll look like a flamingo. If you're gonna look like a flamingo, I'm not gonna judge, but that's not really the point of the exercise. So one thing I like to think about is my sternum and my belly button. Keep that space as short as possible, and that will prevent me from arching my spine, obviously, and then my planted leg, I'll squeeze my glute. So if I do that and extend, now I can do that as much as possible, and it's just my leg in my hip, and it's not the rest of my body going. So there is your hip controlled articular rotation. Do it, trust me, every day. It'll take you 40 seconds, maybe a minute. Your lower back and your hips and your knees will thank you for it. And then you'll thank me for it. Anyway, enjoy your hip cars.